Hi, I'm Brian Winterbourne, member of the 39 Club.
Right, Brian, let's get back to basics. How did you get involved in the menswear world in the first place?
Gosh, by accident, I suppose, like so many of us that fell into this wonderful industry of ours, but it can't be too bad an industry. I've been in it all my life. So I came in, first of all, as a 16-year-old schoolboy. I started working in retail. No doubt we'll come on to that. I'm back in retail, which is an oddity for this wonderful club of ours, because as you probably know and been discussed in the past, that our club sits the other side of retail. But that's not me, but we'll come on to that as we move on to the conversation. So yeah, I came into this wonderful industry as a 16-year-old schoolboy, started working in a department store that sadly is one of those independent department stores that no longer exists. And from there I went to another small department store in Knightsbridge called Harrods.
Right. Poacher turned gamekeeper then.
Yeah.
When did you cross the Great Divide?
About 5 years ago, just as we were coming into COVID, that seemed to have changed all our lives. I had been in as an agent, and before that a sales director for many companies, always shirts, all of my life in shirts. So Van Heusen, Viella, big international names. I worked with the Burberry license, I worked with Givenchy, so I worked with some fine names. And then I was looking really to sort of finish what I was doing, which I'd set up a large German business here in the UK, a company called Seidensticker, which you may know, you may not know, you're forgiven if you don't know. It's one of the biggest shirt manufacturers in the world. And I set up their UK business, but decided that my days are done. I've had a great time. I've had a great career, 40-something years in shirts. And yeah, I was approached by, there are two buying groups in the UK. One is an organisation called AIS, Associated Independent Stores, which really looks after the interests of department stores in the UK. And they organise their own fashion fair, trade fair, and they invite independent retailers, independent department stores' main focus. The other one is a company called Independent Menswear Company, which is all the others, if you like. So it's all the independent menswear stores in the UK. That's a group that had about 80 members, but the group were looking to, it's self-managed. But they were looking to grow the group. They were looking to change. They were looking to have a little bit of a different input to all the years that they had. And they approached me, Brian, how do you fancy looking at this organisation? And I must say, I've had another lease of life that I didn't see coming. And I've been there for 4 or 5 years. We've increased membership from 60, 70, 80 something, up to about 140. So in a year or a time when people talk of reductions on the high street, we've managed to grow the group. We have 2 large fashion fairs a year, which I organise. So that's why I've sort of become a gamekeeper now, where I was the poacher before.
That part of it is patently coming out of the back of a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm guessing, everyone's guessing, what are you seeing now? Are the green shoots there?
Yes, because of the pandemic and other things as well. Look at the high street. Department stores are not a growth. Austin Reed doesn't exist anymore. John Lewis, their footprint is reduced from what it was 5, 6 years ago. Burton's, at a different level perhaps, they don't exist anymore. Debenhams, wow, we can go on.
Yeah.
All of these major nationwide names don't exist. So my involvement now is with the independent menswear retailer across the UK. And yes, whilst we've grown the independent menswear company to have many more members, the independent is a bit of a growth breed at the moment. He's not looking over his shoulder. In every town centre, those department stores are not there anymore. Those major groups, Jaeger, Austin Reed, the ones I've mentioned, they're not there anymore. So he's perhaps, he's a little bit more protected. he's feeling a little bit more confident than perhaps he was pre-COVID. And certainly he's seen a level of business now that's increased dramatically from what it was post-COVID, pre-COVID, I beg your pardon.
That's great news. What I like about that is it's hand in glove with the 39 Club and its principles.
Yeah.
Because the 39 Club are these people who are feeding these shops, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We've changed as well, of course, because the days when I joined in 1989, and virtually every member was based here in the West End. Now, today, we've got a guy whose territory is global. We've got another guy whose business is not selling product, but selling licenses. And it's Korea, it's Japan, it's Australasia. So every one of us now don't have responsibilities that are just London-based, but we're nationwide. So it means we've got to change some of the principles as well. The expectation that you should attend every meeting every month, pretty difficult if you're in Korea, pretty difficult if you're in Dundee or Penzance. So we've had to change, but the club is healthy. It's just different to what it was.
Right. The important thing we've got to deal with here now is, you do know, and no doubt this is, I mean, you look good for a man of 170 years old, obviously, because, but the reason I point this out is, if you work in shirts, the shirts are the vanguard of fashion change.
Yes.
I think it's patently clear. Collar, colour, cuff, shirt width. You must have had to been on your game constantly over the years in the shirt game.
Yes, and designers, shirt creators, patterns, shapes, as you say, all of those things, their shelf life tended to be shorter than the salesman's or the sales directors. Now, thankfully, I was on the selling side rather than the creative. But I think you're right. You know, the shirts have changed. Again, we can go back and look at the number of brands. There are more shirts sold today in the UK than ever before. They're just sold in different places. We've just talked about, you know, the department stores that existed, the mail order that was. It's not there anymore, or it's certainly not the headline that it was. You look at Primark, you look at Marks and Spencer's, the sheer volume that they're selling. So the shirt business is bigger than it's ever been. It's just different. And whilst I'm old, I like to keep up and move with the times. And yeah, if you don't adjust, I would have been dead.